highest quality, and you will love your logo on the finished product. We are a locally owned small business who simply wants you to look great. Find out more at grittygearcompany.com. Are you one of thousands of individuals who know you have psychic abilities but don't know how to tap into your higher self? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who offers classes that can help you reach your goals. Refined Divine holds classes Monday and Thursday at her 2 locations and via Zoom. Classes consist of manifestation, learning psychic abilities, shadow work, and healing trauma. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
This is Psychic Medium Deb. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Twin Cities Con returns to the Minneapolis Convention Center for the 4th year, November 8th through 10th. Twin Cities Con is a celebration of comics, toys, TV, film, art, cosplay, games, and all things nerdy. There is nothing like Twin Cities Con. It's also a family-friendly event where you can meet your favorite celebrities, browse the vendor hall and artist alley for the coolest merch, watch celebrity Q&As, and even more. Twin Cities Con is bigger and better than ever before. Come see from Star Wars the Emperor himself, Ian McDermott, along with Anakin Skywalker, Hayden Christensen, John DiMaggio, who is Bender from Futurama, WWE Hall of Fame wrestler Sting, and Sunday only Grant Gustin from The Flash and Glee, plus more guests to be announced. 3 days of action-packed fun is in the heart of Minneapolis at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Tickets start at $40. Kids tickets are just $8 for the entire weekend. VIP tickets also available, including a 3-day weekend pass, plus some really cool VIP perks. Buy your tickets and get more information at TwinCitiesCon.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story. This is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you so much for joining us on this unseasonably warm Monday evening in Minnesota. I just went out to the grocery store because with doing the show at the time I do, my meals are all messed up, in terms of the time I eat and stuff. So it's around 8:39 p.m. I'm like, I should get something for dinner, which dinner will be after the show. I know, super healthy, right? Well, to say the least, you get outside, it's muggy, it's warm. I looked at 67 degrees. We haven't had, that's at 9:30 at night, it's 67 degrees. It's incredible. And it's October. Now, I know a lot of people are probably like, bring on fall. We want it to feel Halloween and all that. No. Keep it. I like it just as it is. Let's keep this going. I much rather be warm all winter than cold, quite frankly. And it doesn't stop me actually from wearing shorts year round anyway. So, you have that going for you, so I'm excited. I love talking about the subject we're going to be talking about tonight. You've heard me talk about it a number of times on my program. And tonight we're going to be talking about a new book that came out, The Cryptids and Monsters of North Carolina, exploring the legends and lore and witness accounts. And with me tonight, I'm going to have on Dr. Bill Brendle. And Dr. Brendle became fascinated with the paranormal, monsters, and high strangeness at a young age after having several personal experiences that could not be explained away by normal means. Always striving for answers, to have new experiences and learn something new, he has a very diverse and interesting background. He is referred to by many as a Renaissance man. He has a PhD in parapsychology. He is a cryptozoologist, paranormal investigator, and hypnotist. He has worked in corporate America for major corporations, as well as some mom and pop companies, along with his owning several of his own companies as well. Some of his vast and diversified experiences include entrepreneurship, professional bass angler, and I mean, the stuff that he does is so much. I was reading through what he does, and along his journey, he has gained a vast amount of arcane knowledge by studying witchcraft, magic, esoteric masonry, and the occult, applying and practicing such skills as tarot scrying and many other forms of divination, candle, herb, folk, blood magic used in spells for healing, and has even learned some dark magic along his journey. This diverse background and the arcane knowledge allow him to provide unique and different perspective to such topics as cryptids, the paranormals, ufology, witchcraft, and other realms of high strangeness. He is the host, writer, and producer of the Forever Paranormal podcast, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. Dr. Bill, welcome to GhostBox Radio.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Just one correction on it. What an amazing intro. Thank you. Just one correction. I was a professional bass angler.
Bass angler.
Bass fisherman. Yes.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought you were saying in that. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it just, here's the thing. I can't fish worth crap. I tried it a number of years ago, and my friend Freddie took me out fishing, and he's just trying to show me. He's doing the angling and the fly fishing, and as he's explaining it to me, we're walking, and I feel like we're like 2 blocks from a lake, and we're walking towards the lake, and he just does his thing, gets it, and he gets a fish while we're walking to get, just to get to the lake. And I'm like, I can't keep up with this guy. It's ridiculous. And so he caught his amount that he's allowed to catch that day, and maybe a little bit more that we said I caught. Let's just put it that way. It was a fun day, but my gosh, no, thank you. It was incredible. But I did grill them that night. I was the person who grilled the fish.
Oh, okay, that's good.
I helped in some small way. How are you doing? You're out in North Carolina.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm in North Carolina.
What's the weather like out there for you tonight?
Right now, it's getting about mid-70s to low 80s in the daytime, and it's dropping down into the high 40s, mid 50s at night. It's our typical fall pattern here.
So this is normal for you.
Yeah, this is normal. We like to say here in North Carolina, through the daytime, you got your air conditioning on. At night, you flip your heat on.
True. So true. Now, the book is called The Cryptids and Monsters of North Carolina, Exploring the Legends, Lore, and Witness Accounts. This literally, Dr. Bill, this literally just came out, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It was published last week, I believe it was.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it came out last week. It just got published.
So give us a little bit about what the book is about. And, one of the things that I read when I was reading the description of the book, I think that, the idea that I think there's a lot of us who we may not live in North Carolina, but I think there's a great interest to know what is out in different areas of the country and how does it compare to stuff that we know in our area as well.
Right. And that's one of the things I wanted to do about the book was because there were some other books about things in North Carolina, but they didn't go into the detail like I did. I wanted to go into the legend behind it. A lot of it comes from Native American folklore.
Okay.
And the indigenous tribes. And then, of course, we have what's called Bigfoot in this area, which people have in the Northwest. Minnesota, Ohio has it as the Grass Man. And we have Black Panthers. Allegedly, it's a cryptid, right?
Right.
Here it's considered a cryptid. A cryptid is a species that's not supposed to be there.
Exactly.
And they go way back, and these legends go way back. And I just wanted to cover them and give the basis of it and a little history about the state. And a lot of the cryptids may be the same thing, but go by a different name depending on the region. Mm-hmm. Because we didn't have the name Bigfoot or Sasquatch for a long time, right? So everything went by its local name.
Right.
And so I just wanted to make a connection with a lot of that.
I think that's really interesting. And I've had Lyle Blackburn on and stuff. And, another one who is very much loves to talk about the regional aspect of it. And I think you really hit on something that I think makes it a lot of fun is like the names that are in there, because I think it becomes very generic after a while when we're all like, oh, we're going, looking for Bigfoot in Minnesota, we're looking for Bigfoot in North Carolina. But the idea of the idea that there was a time that we don't know what the rest of the country was researching about whatever this is, and we're just focusing on our own area, is actually really fascinating.
It is. And there's like, when I was researching for this book, I was researching the Wampus cat, which is a cryptid out in the western part of the state. And not until I was doing the research did I realize, not very far from where I live, there's another Wampus cat. But this one happens to be a catfish and not a feline. So we had two legends of Wampus cats in the state that I wasn't even aware of. And I don't think very many people were aware of it.
No.
So even just the research on things like that brings up things that's like, wow, I had no idea that those two existed.
I think it's also really interesting too that when I'm thinking of cryptids, and I would say wrongly so on my end, I think of mainly like the bipedal sort of,
right,
whatever these are, but the Bigfoots and the Goatmen and stuff like that. But you've brought up two cats so far.
Right.
And a fish,
right? And cryptid is by definition an unknown creature, right? An unknown species. Because in the book, I talk about some sea serpents down along the coast. I talk about a lake monster we allegedly have in North Carolina, and I talk about mermaids, right?
Yeah.
Because the mermaids in the book, I don't want to give too much away, but the mermaids in the book are not at the coast. They're not at the ocean like people would think. They're 180 miles inland at the mouth of two rivers, where two rivers join to create the Cape Fear River, and they come up from the coast into the fresh water. That's a story about the mermaids.
Sure.
Right. So there's a lot of different things that are cryptids that people don't realize, and I wanted to bring some of that to light.
I think it's important that you do so because, I'm using myself as an example here. There is something really, that I think a lot of us love about, the like I said before, the bipedal cryptids, because I think we can classify them, not that we should classify them as such, but, they often the term monster kind of is associated with that, like people are like they're monster, like hunters and stuff like that. There's something fun about that, but fundamentally it's incorrect. And I think what you are doing is it's a very balanced approach for people like, and in some cases myself and others who we're just focused on one thing. You're trying to let us know that the breadth of what this is much more. Yet the fact is you're still focusing on one, you're really focusing on one state. That's even more impressive to me.
Right. Well, thank you. I tried to get every cryptid that I could find within the state in this book, I should say. Mm-hmm. But I did leave a few out because I could only find one or two newspaper articles or resources about them. So I didn't cover them, and that's like some giant mosquitoes and things like that.
Oh God!
But, who knows about that? But
I think they're up here with me in Minnesota, quite frankly.
Oh, they're not here right now, thankfully. But it is important to get the different things, and I put a couple of bonus legends in the book towards the end, and one is about the Brown Mountain Lights, which has been on many TV shows here in North Carolina, and I put one on there about the Devil's Tramping Ground, which has been on several paranormal shows. Right. And that is relatively close to me. That's only like 35 minutes from where I live. And you can do overnight excursions there, and it's pretty wild.
That's pretty cool. When you're doing the research for these and deciding to include them in the book, you had just mentioned that you couldn't find a lot of newspaper articles on a couple of them, therefore they were not included. Is that a big priority when you're doing the research of like that? You have to see that there are some firsthand accounts of witnesses to it?
Yes, I do want to see firsthand accounts of witnesses. I want to see some history of it. I want to see more than one person, one account, maybe a time frame. then you're getting into a folklore. Then you're getting into something that's got some history to it that goes back a while. And it's not something somebody just come up with one time, and a newspaper writer back in 1800s was bored and there was no news. So he wrote a little clip about some scary looking monster in the edge of the woods, and that's the only time it appears.
Absolutely. Do you, when you are doing this, are you more interested in something like eyewitness reports on these, that say if there's only two of them, that they're like 2 years apart opposed to 2 months apart? You know what I mean? Whereas
if there's 2 years apart or this or that, or there's one place in the book where I'm talking about Normie, the Lake Norman sea serpent monster, right? And I put some eyewitness accounts in there over like 4 decades. I would go 10 decades, 10 years at a time, a decade at a time, for the reports that I put in the book. So it showed a history of it. And, I went back to the Cherokee Indians, Catawba Indians, for the folklore they had about giant snakes and stuff in the rivers that were dammed up to create the lake. So that give you a history that goes way back to start. Yeah. Is it there? I don't know. Is it possible? Yes.
Right.
Of course it is.
And that's the purpose of the book, right? Is it doesn't have, you're not trying to necessarily prove it, but you're putting it out there for people to learn and make up their own minds about stuff, right? I mean,
exactly. And I've got that in the book. I say, it's up to you, the reader, to determine, right? And one of the things that I put in the book too, I try to include for almost everyone, is what type of tourism is there available for it afterwards?
Sure.
Is there things you can go do? Can you get yourself involved? Can you go to Lake Norman and check out things? Sure you can, Right. There's festivals for Bigfoot and Booger and Boojum and things like that. So, it helps everybody to get involved as well if you have an interest.
And knowledge is power anyway, right?
Yes.
To be able to kind of at least be out there and say that you're out there and you start seeing something that you're not quite sure what it is. If you read Dr. Bill's book, you're going to be able to have like maybe a better understanding of what it might be. I mean, seriously, that's the purpose, right? I mean,
yeah, I watched a new show the other night. It's been a week or two ago now, on some monster hunters, Lost Monster Files or something. I'm not.
Oh, that's new, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, and they were doing. And the reason I watched it is the first episode was supposed to be on North Carolina on a cryptid.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to it and this and that, and I listened to what they come up with, and I'm like, that's not even close to being right.
That's
because they said there was a chupacabra, and nowhere does anybody have a history with chupacabra in North Carolina. It would fit in more with the Wampus cat or the Santer,
sure,
the legends, than it would, And I was disappointed that they come up with chupacabra, but
it gives me an interesting question, and that is, when you're putting this together, you're putting your list of who you want to include. Do you take some of the bigger names that are known, and you might be like, there's a really good chance that a chupacabra is not going to be in North Carolina for many, many reasons, but I'm going to look anyway. I mean, so you've already done the research, right?
And I only included in the book what is supposedly in North Carolina. Right?
Sure.
So if there was no background for chupacabra, it wasn't included. If there was no background for a rake, it wasn't included.
Yep.
Things like that.
That makes a lot of sense. Why don't we go ahead and do this? Let's go ahead, take our first break. When we come back, we're going to be talking more with Dr. Bill about the cryptids and monsters of North Carolina, exploring the legends, lore, and witness accounts. If you have questions, put them into the comment section. We'll get to them. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Gritty Gear Company is a great place to go for clothing that is fun and expressive. But did you know we also do custom orders on demand? We've worked with all types of companies and organizations, from first responders to even a certain radio station. Our team is here to help you look amazing. Our clothing is of the highest quality, and you will love your logo on the finished product. We are a locally owned small business who simply wants you to look great. Find out more at grittygearcompany.com.
Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakun here. Like many of you, I still collect physical books, and not just any books, but books about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. I go to Megas Books and Herbs, located in the Arts District of Minneapolis, but books are only part of it. Megas Books and Herbs offers crystals, jewelry, herbs, oils, and consultations on how to use this stuff. Check out their in-store classes and events too. This place has everything to expand your horizons. Located at 1848 Central Avenue, Minneapolis, or visit megasbooks.com. And yesterday I was out in Winona, Minnesota, and I took part in Refined Divine's Holistic Fair, and that was a lot of fun. That was really good. A lot of people showed up. I was able to present last night or yesterday afternoon. That was a lot of fun. And I spoke about cryptids. I spoke about aliens, but also using Spirit Box with them as well. And then I played, we actually ran the box for a little bit and got somebody who had recently passed away that was knew one of the managers there. And so we kind of put a stop to that, only because that wasn't the time or place for it, but it was a great experience. You know what I mean, Dr. Bill? It's sometimes this isn't about trying to impress people. I mean, yes and no, but I don't want to suddenly try to carry on a conversation like that. That just doesn't work. It doesn't seem appropriate. So
it wasn't the right place for the conversation with that person.
It totally wasn't. So, but it was a lot of fun, and I think I'm going to be back with them in January. And it seems like that's a long way away, but it's, you're going to blink, and next thing you know, it's January 1st. So
time goes very fast, especially at my age.
Well, I mean, listen, I don't know how to respond to that one, Dr. Bill, but I just know that it's same for me as well. So, speaking of time, we're talking with Dr. Bill Brendle. We're talking about his new book, and I mean literally brand new, The Cryptids and Monsters of North Carolina, exploring the legends, lore, and witness accounts. And I was able to, thank you to Dr. Bill, I was able to go through the book a little bit, not as much as I wanted to because of all my stuff I was having gone, but boy, what an easy read it is. It's really nice.
I tried to make it very complicated, right? I wanted everybody to be able to pick the book up and read it. Thank you for saying that. So
It's very 100% true. It's a very good book. It doesn't, and I think you'll know what I mean when I say it doesn't outstay its welcome at all. It really gets to what it needs to get to, and it does it very well. And it's like easy, is a good size to use as reference going forward, because I think too, it's for North Carolina, but you can apply it to other places as well. I mean,
exactly, it does apply to other places. And because the cryptids, we'll take Bigfoot, we'll stick with him for a minute.
Sure.
He's all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And then we've got a newer cryptid, the dog man.
Yes.
That's really starting to become popular. And, I included that in the book because we have the folklore and the legends of what was called demon dogs here in North Carolina for a long time. And the description by the eyewitnesses and the history and this and that, it leads perfect right into Dogman. And so what Michigan was calling Dogman, we were calling a demon dog. And that the internet and people got to talking and conversing more, then the languages started getting similar, right? Until then, it was all regional.
Well, and that's what I was kind of wondering about is, do we believe that, I mean, it's not impossible as through the history of Earth that new species can be identified, can be found. I mean, the panda is a great example of it. But I mean, when it comes to something as specific as, Dogman and something that's more emerging, I mean, is your first instinct of like, this is probably something that we have seen in other places and that we're now finally connecting to be able to understand what we're seeing all around us?
Exactly. I think that's what's going on. And what we have to remember is when we see something as human beings, we don't actually see it, right? Our eyes pick up this digital image out there. It transferred by electrical nerves through our optic nerves to our brain, and our brain sends back a signal to another part of our brain of something that we have in our history, something that's in our repertoire in our brain. Otherwise, we can't understand what it is because we don't know. So we're going to pick something in our brain to associate it with. And then it's just like the demon dogs and the devil dogs versus the dog man. It all fit together when I was researching for the book. And that's how I come up with it that way.
Does that give you more hope or gives it more credibility that this is beyond folklore, then that this is something that very well exists? If you're getting these different sort of descriptions in other parts of the world.
Yes, I believe it could exist, right? I think that just about every bit of it is possible. Some of it might not be plausible, but I believe it's all about possible because we are just now really starting to understand quantum mechanics and quantum physics. And I'm not saying that everything's interdimensional or this or that, but just for quantum physics to work, there needs to be a minimum of 11 dimensions, right? And they're saying it's more now when they break down everything. Yeah. So is it possible? Yes. Again, we only know what's readily available to us, right? And our knowledge is very limited, I believe, at this point still.
I think that I think that there needs to be more humility in that regard, as general as a human species. That there's so much out there that I feel like we are so, and I say that as a global we, no one particular, but of people who are just like, same with aliens and other things, like, well, that's impossible. Can't believe it's like, why can't and I always understand that in a sense that's a bit of a leap of faith, but I can't believe that we can be so smug and believe that we know everything based on, like you just said, what we see in front of us.
Right. And especially in the Western culture, right? Our Western culture limits itself a lot on the esoteric and things like that. Yeah. And just stop and think that in England, for example, when we talk about ghosts, and we talk about spirits, and we talk about hauntings, and all that couldn't have happened. They have houses over there that are older than our country.
Totally.
Right. So, I mean, how many generations of energy was in there?
Mhm.
We know that everything is energy. We know that everything moves by energy. Everything's made of energy. We know that energy doesn't go away. So, I try to look at the cryptids and things like that from that aspect as well.
And I was going to, and I always get worried, and I figure that I think I know where you stand, but I always get worried when I bring people on that when talking about cryptids, because I'm firmly in the camp that believes that what we call Bigfoot or forest people is an interdimensional, species. That's where I think I've seen it. I mean, I've seen them, and that's where I'm at. Doesn't mean that I'm completely right. I mean, you have to have an open mind, but where do you stand in that?
I believe it's completely possible.
Yeah.
I don't have a definite position on it either way, because I haven't been an experiencer.
Mm-hmm.
I have not experienced that yet. So could it be a bipedal creature we haven't discovered yet? Yes. But I think that's less plausible than an interdimensional creature.
Yeah.
Right? Because you
Right.
go back and you look at the history of fairies and fae and thing like that. What is it? Interdimensional, maybe? Even aliens could possibly be interdimensional and not necessarily from another universe.
That's the camp I'm in right now. Because
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that.
I mean, I've experienced it, but once again, I want to put out there, and I was thinking about this earlier when I was driving to the store at 9 p.m. About the idea of, like, when I put this stuff out here, I really want to make it clear to the people who have listened over the years and stuff. It's just because it's something I think doesn't necessarily mean that you have to think that way, meaning anyone listening or whatever else. And having you on, you're like we said earlier, you're putting out there the facts that you have, and you're allowing people to come to their own conclusions. And I'm hoping that when I talk about this, I still allow people to do that as well, because that's important, and especially in this area, I feel like.
Yes, there are no experts, right?
No.
There's no definites on this. So everybody has to come to their own conclusion. Everybody, and the camp that we're in, for example, right now on, say, cryptids, that could change in a year. That can change in 2 years. That can change in 3 years as new documentation, new information, and new studies are done. They're doing a lot of work with mitochondrial DNA right now. So we're liable to get some answers. It keeps coming up, unknown. So, well, you don't know what that is. Well, that's because it's unknown and we haven't had enough samples to build a database yet.
Absolutely. I mean, and I've known people who have through their work and seeing this being, they've actually gotten some hair DNA, fur DNA. They've had it sent off, and it comes back as unidentified. They don't know what, the labs don't know what it is.
Right. Part human, part unidentified, usually what the DNA comes back as.
Totally. And, I'm sorry if I cut you off.
Oh, no. There's Dr. Melba Ketchum one time was doing DNA studies, and she got a lot of flack for it. And now she's working on a Dogman project and stuff the same way. But I think that we limit ourselves too much sometimes by saying, oh, that can't be because it doesn't come back positive or something.
Right.
Well, we didn't know what a gorilla was 100 years ago. It was just discovered 100 years ago.
Right.
In the book, when I'm talking about sea serpents and stuff, and the way that the Labrador currents come down from the north and the southern currents come up from the south and meet out right off the North Carolina coast, there was a new whale discovered in the 1930s, a new species of whale that washed up dead on the beach. Right. So, I mean, that wasn't that long ago.
No.
And so we've got new things discovered every day.
Absolutely. And that's the exciting part about it. And it does worry me when you get the people who are like, it's impossible. And I'd wish we could get more people to think, first of all, more interdimensionally, at least entertain the idea, I mean, at least something like that to kind of think about that, because life, just because everything isn't two-dimensional as we see in front of us.
Right. And that's where quantum mechanics, quantum physics comes in the different dimensions in the universes and so on and so forth. Right. I can't come up with a way to explain how you can have a set of tracks going through the snow that completely disappear.
Right.
We'll use Bigfoot tracks. Then when we have a man that was walking through the snow in Canada across the lake, and all of a sudden his tracks disappear, no broken ice or this or that. What was that? And he shows up, a year later, 2 years later?
Yep.
Right. And no memory where he was. Was that an alien abduction?
Right.
I don't know. Right.
Right.
You've got to keep your mind open. You've got to keep a perspective. Otherwise, you can't learn and grow as a human.
Absolutely. And for all of us who want that, whatever that disclosure, that meeting, that unification, you can't do that unless you are willing to kind of let go of the norms of our lives, I guess, to be able to think differently, I guess, really.
Right. I think the magic in it is two people or two schools of thought can disagree on something, as long as they're open to the fact of understanding why you think the way you do. Why did you come to that conclusion? If I can agree on how you came to that conclusion, fine. I might not agree with your conclusion, but I think we're better off and we can all learn from that. And if we do that more, we'll start getting answers to some of these questions we all have. What are these things?
Absolutely. Kind of like take the blinders off, right? I mean, absolutely. I mean, because that's just something, and because it's like, you run it. I mean, sometimes, and I'm sure you have as well, you run into scientists who they have taken the blinders off, that they are open to other possibilities. They still have their science that grounds them, but they're not afraid to be open to other things. That just doesn't mean that they're automatically going to agree with it or go with it, but they are open to it. I think that's all we need to see, really.
Right. There's no better example of that than Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, since we're talking about Bigfoot, and bipedal creatures. There's no better example than that. But too many of them are afraid to lose their career, lose their tenure.
Yep.
You can't be afraid to lose things. If you're going to go after something and you want to find it, you've got to go after it. You can't be afraid to do it.
And I'm sure you have seen, especially with your podcast, your research, I've seen it over time. Those Bigfoot researchers, depending, regardless what side they're on, they can get pretty angry with each other. They get very protective. They could get very territorial, and it's just like I think it kind of lends to what you're saying. Is like, you got to let that go. I mean, it just like, you can have your own theory. It doesn't take away, but also, what if it is possible? What if it's just possible, minutely possible, for something that's interdimensionally happened? And one thing I wanted to mention to you, because you did bring up fairies and fanes and stuff, is in my experience, when I've now had the opportunity to see a couple what we'd call forest people, Bigfoot, whatever, it was always preceded in our experience with elementals. And that just seems like they're the first group that comes through to see what's going on.
Well, they could be an elemental.
Well, that too, as well. Yes,
right?
absolutely.
They could actually be an elemental.
That's absolutely true.
And that would fit in perfect with some of the Indian lore, some of the Indian folklore and things like that. And there's more orbs out there than just dust orbs on a camera.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the reasons I included the Brown Mountain Lights in the book, because those orbs have been going on for a very long time.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, that now they say, oh, it's car lights, it's this, it's that. But they've been going on before there was cars.
Right. Exactly.
They were going on before there was roads there. Nice try, but
very true. Absolutely. So why don't we go ahead and do this? I want to take my second break here. When we come back, Dr. Bell, I've been really enjoying this conversation. So I'm looking forward to finishing up and talking more about the book and about your own podcast and other things.
Okay.
You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Twin Cities Con returns to the Minneapolis Convention Center for the fourth year, November 8th through 10th. Twin Cities Con is a celebration of comics, toys, TV, film, art, cosplay, games, and all things nerdy. There is nothing like Twin Cities Con. It's also a family-friendly event where you can meet your favorite celebrities, browse the vendor hall and artist alley for the coolest merch, watch celebrity Q&As, and even more. Twin Cities Con is bigger and better than ever before. Come see from Star Wars the Emperor himself, Ian McDiarmid, along with Anakin Skywalker, Hayden Christensen, John DiMaggio, who is Bender from Futurama, WWE Hall of Fame wrestler Sting, and Sunday only Grant Gustin from The Flash and Glee, plus more guests to be announced. 3 days of action-packed fun is in the heart of Minneapolis at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Tickets start at $40. Kids tickets are just $8 for the entire weekend. VIP tickets also available, including a 3-day weekend pass, plus some really cool VIP perks. Buy your tickets and get more information at TwinCitiesCon.com.
Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had, made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
This is Chad, owner of AM950. Recently, I had a large order of custom-designed t-shirts that needed to be turned around in a hurry. I knew exactly who to call, Grady Gear Company. Grady Gear Company is a local company that handles large and small custom clothing and apparel orders. I had a lot of questions from color, shirt quality, and what sizes we needed. Grady Gear Company was great to work with. They got us what we needed on time, and now everybody's looking great around the station in their new gear. Start your order at GradyGearCo.com.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with MetamorphosisConnections.com. MetamorphosisConnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search MetamorphosisConnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on MetamorphosisConnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting MetamorphosisConnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's MetamorphosisConnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We're going to see the return of author Joe Prozit. We are going to be talking about his newest work, Machines, Monsters, and Maniacs. That's Volume 2. Joe is a local author. Really excited to have him on. He is so much fun to talk to. His work is really good. So check us out tomorrow. And then Wednesday, we're doing the show live from the 300 Clifton Mansion. For those of you who remember, we're actually going to be doing a 4-hour Halloween broadcast from 300 Clifton. Well, that would be Halloween, October 31st. And for those who know the show that we do Thursday, Myth or Mystery, we are going to be doing that as well. We are also going to be having Ghost Inspector Greg, who has been on such shows as Ghost Adventures. He is going to be out in Hollywood, and we're going to be cutting to him at a location, trying to try some of his spirit boxes that he has. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. And if you want to take part, actually being at the mansion, they're going to have basically a carnival there on October 31st. We're doing our live broadcast from there. We're also going to be doing a paranormal investigation on the top 2 floors of the mansion. If you want to take part in that, we are selling tickets to that right now. You also could buy tickets for just general access to the grounds during our broadcast, as well as the other stuff they have going on. They're going to have a band. I think they're going to have live music there, at very least a DJ. They're doing trolley tours. They're doing psychic readings, plus our paranormal investigation. It's going to be an amazing night. And if you want to be able to take part, see what the costs are, see about coming out there on October 31st, go to MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com. And you can, if you want the direct link, MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com/Halloween. And you can decide what you want to do. There's a lot of options, and they're doing multiple trolley tours that night, which is Having done it a couple times, it's a lot of fun. So if you don't have anything going on Halloween, check it out. It's going to be great. We're finishing up our fantastic conversation with Dr. Bill Brendle. We're talking about the cryptids and monsters of North Carolina, exploring the legends, lore, and witness accounts. I see it's available on Amazon. Dr. Bill, do you have anywhere else you prefer them to go get their book?
It's available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes & Noble. It's available. I'm going to have it on my website before too long, my author page to my outskirts. I'll probably put that on tomorrow. I'm very bad about keeping the foreverparanormal.com website up, but I'll get that on there, so there's a link from there too, because it's available on Kindle. It's available on Apple Books. It's available just about everywhere. Or you can get your local bookstore to order it in.
Now, if they get it through you directly, are you going to sign it for them or?
No.
Oh.
It'll be shipped from the publisher.
Oh, got it. Okay.
It'll be shipped from the publisher, but I can, if somebody wants to send me an email through the Forever Paranormal website and ask for a signed copy, I can do that. I'll be able to take care of it for them.
Sounds good. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Forever Paranormal podcast. If you wouldn't mind, for those who may not know about it, why don't you let everyone know what it is and how they can listen to it, please?
Okay. Well, it's 4 with the numeral 4, Ever Paranormal, and it's available on any podcast, YouTube, everything else, any podcast thing. The website is foreverparanormal.com. And we've got about 90 episodes out there now, something like that. We've been doing it for a while. It's my wife and I.
Sure.
And we try to do it more as an educational type of thing. Mm-hmm. We tell certain stories. We talk about different things. For example, some of the episodes that we have, and we can get to some episodes here. We've done different things from like scary stories, which we just did, be coming out for Halloween. We did Zozo, the demon of the Ouija board, right? Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. We did the Needles UFO incidents.
Okay.
Going back there, we did one about a man that was supposedly killed by a witch's curse. Some on witchcraft, right? Different things about witchcraft. I am a practicing witch. Yes. So we do things on witchcraft too. And when we did our 1-year anniversary show, my wife actually told me that was her favorite show. Was one of the ones on witchcraft because she actually learned about a lot of the things that are in my office.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah, I bet.
But, she's not into it, so she didn't know. We've done ghouls. We've done Bigfoot conspiracies, the tools of witches, the history of the Ouija board, things like that. Alien abductions of Betty and Barney Hill.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So we try to do a lot of different things because, the paranormal really it refers to phenomena experiences that are just beyond the scope of normal scientific understandings, right?
True.
And to us, anything that's not normal is paranormal. So we try to cover it. And we have a lot of fun with it. And it'd be great if, your listeners wanted to come listen to it and join in.
Please do.
Like I said, it's available on YouTube. It's available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, anywhere you get your podcast.
Do you do episodes weekly then?
Yes, we do a weekly episode.
Very cool. What day do you do drop on the same normally the same day or?
Right, we drop every Wednesday.
Okay.
At 3 a.m. the witching hour.
Are you able to tell us what this Wednesday's episode is going to be?
Sure, I can. This Wednesday is going to be. It's going to be a new take on the Salem witch trials.
Oh, nice.
Right. We're going to go over a specific person that was accused on the Salem witch trials and this and that. And we're going to go over some unknown folklore about her and some things she had supposedly done that's not very much out there. It's not very popular, right? So
sure.
And it's actually, I think what it's going to be about at the end is they took somebody that had nothing to do with witchcraft, and by the end, she may have become a witch.
I like that. I looked that. It's pretty incredible that something, these historic instances, we're always finding out new stuff, aren't we? If we
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. We're always finding out new things. And that's one of the things about, the book. I went through there and we found out a lot of new things that people didn't know 20 years ago when other books were written. And I'm finishing up my next book now, which is, I call it the Little Black Book of Dark Magic.
Oh.
It's a history on dark magic. And it even goes into about King Solomon and other things like that, using dark magic and the demons to build the temples. And there may even be a section of curses and spells and hexes in there.
Oh, you'll have to send that to me. I mean, sounds fascinating, is what I meant to say. But I'd love to have you on and talk about that when that's ready to go, because it's also, these things are meant for they're meant for education. And that's you. There's certain stuff you can't just. Even when you're talking about Zozo, you can't. A lot of people oh yeah, just stay away. It's well, how do you know what not to do, or how do you know to protect yourself if we don't talk about it?
Right, you've got to talk about it. Is Zozo real? Is Zozo not real? Was Zozo a manifestation?
Yes.
Was he like a tulpa? Was Zozo created as a tulpa by everybody's thoughts? Things like that, and that goes along with the different books too that I've worked on. And it's pretty cool when you look at it from that aspect, I think.
I think so too. I think that and I think that it's healthy. I don't think there should be subjects that should be not talked about and hushed. I think that, with responsibility, it's better to talk about them and get them out there than pretending like it never happened or it doesn't exist.
Right. And in the book Cryptids and Monsters, North Carolina, when I talk about the Devil's Tramping Ground, I try to cover all the different aspects of what the theories are.
Sure.
Right. I don't try to leave one school of thought there. I've got professors from NC State who have looked at the soil in the book and things like that. So I try to cover all the aspects of it, not just one thought, because otherwise we can't learn. If you and I sit and we have a conversation, we bounce our theories off each other, we can learn.
Absolutely.
But if we butt heads and, oh, no, you're wrong and I'm wrong and I'm going to hide my stuff from you, no one benefits.
Nothing's going to happen. When we have about 3.5, 4 minutes left. When writing this book, and once again, I do ask people, go check out the Cryptids and Monsters of North Carolina, exploring the legends, lore, and witness accounts. Was there some type of cryptid going into the book that you always had a fondness for, or something that maybe even has kind of changed since finishing up the book?
My fondness has grown deeper.
Yeah.
And my fondness has always been for Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
Mm-hmm.
I was very young when I seen the film, right?
The Patterson-Gimlin film?
Yeah, everybody's seen the Patterson-Gimlin film. I think I saw it right before I went to theater. I was younger. I went to see The Legend of Boggy Creek when it first came out in the theaters.
Yeah.
And I think they played the Patterson-Gimlin film right before that. And it's I'm hooked. Right?
Easily.
I'm hooked. And I lived in the western mountains of Maryland for about 15 years. And I did a lot of research there, but I was never I was never able to come up with anything valid.
Sure.
And then, I listen to different podcasts, this and that, and guys are talking about, oh, they're all over the place there. And this, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm going to have to hook up with you so I can be an experiencer.
This weekend, I was talking with somebody about the Patterson-Gimlin film. And, the one thing that I always like to, and they agreed with me too, and I mean, I think we're just in general agreement, was you look at that film, there's no possible way that in my mind, there's no possible way that is a person in a suit. I don't believe it is.
And in the one episode when we talked about that film, the U.S. government has been over that film how many times, and they've got the best technology there is. Yeah. And they say it's a true film. So.
Well, I need to bring MK Davis back on because, and you may know this, I don't know this. There's a lot more that was shot that day that we don't know
Exactly,
about, and that he wants he should be able to give us a little bit more background on what that is. I was just, it's amazing we haven't got him back on yet. But Dr. Bill, I'm hoping that you'll come back on. And I mean, we haven't really talked about anything that you actually do beyond writing and researching and stuff. I mean, there's so much more. We haven't talked a lot about fishing either, which I'm sure that was really
that was a fun way to make a living for about 9 years.
Well,
but it became a job after a couple of years, and so it's like any job, it gets boring.
Isn't that true? I mean, it's like everything, once it starts becoming a job, it's like, and I get it. We need to make a living. I understand that part of it. But when it starts off trying to be one thing and then starts becoming another, you got to be careful with that, don't you?
Yes, you do. You have to be very careful with it.
Yeah, no. And once again, thank you for staying up so late with me tonight. I hope
thank you. My pleasure.
Now the book, once again, friends, is called The Cryptids and Monsters of North Carolina, exploring legends, lore, and witness accounts. And Dr. Bill, do I have this right, that the website to your podcast is the number 4 everparanormalpodcast.com, or do I have that off?
It's just foreverparanormal.com.
Okay, foreverparanormal.com.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you. I'll put that in the summary for tomorrow. Dr. Bill, thank you so very much. I really
appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure, Greg.
Absolutely. Once again, the book is called The Cryptids and Monsters of North Carolina, exploring the legends, lore, and witness accounts. We're going to be back tomorrow with Joe Prosent. Everyone, have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.